is narrated by Nathaniel Wingate Beasley, professor of political economy at Miskatonic University, Arkham, Massachusetts. He describes a mysterious event that happened to him. In 1908, he suddenly collapsed during a lecture and did not wake up until 5 years later. It turned out that all these years he had been awake and active, although he did not remember any of it himself. During this period, Beasley's manner of speech changed. He began to study scientific and occult books and traveled extensively, visiting Himalayas, Arabia, and the Arctic. His family turned their backs on him, believing that Beasley had been possessed by an alien or he had changed too much. In 1913, Nathaniel built an outlandish device, and then one day, suddenly, he was his old self again. The mysterious machine was never found after that. Nathaniel's family continued to shun him, not believing that he was himself again, except for the professor's middle son, Wingate Beasley, as he is described by his father, as the only member of my family who stuck to me after my queer amnesia of long ago, and the man best informed on the inner facts of my case. The recovered professor began to suspect that during his amnesia, someone else's will had been really controlling his body. This was argued by the hallucinations he was experiencing, the strange recollections of events that would happen in the future, and the visions of the past in which Beasley visited an ancient city built of cyclopean blocks. The city was populated by 10-foot cone-like creatures, whose head and other organs were attached to stretchy limbs, on top of a scaly, rainbow-colored body, and Beasley felt himself to be one of them. Beasley himself describes the creatures as following. The beings had but two of the senses which we recognize, sight and hearing, the latter accomplished through the flower-like appendages on the great stalks above their heads, but of the other and incomprehensible senses, they possessed many. Their 3 eyes were so situated as to give them a range of vision wider than the normal. Their blood was a sort of deep greenish ichor of great thickness. They had no sex, but reproduced through seeds or spores, which clustered on their bases and could be developed only underwater. The political and economic system of these creatures was a kind of social fascism. Their society was highly mechanized, with all sorts of flying machines, ships, and submarines. The city was a cluster of palaces, domes, and arcs, and occasionally came across black towers of basalt and without windows, which the creatures, for some reason, feared. Some of the buildings had sealed and guarded doors, leading somewhere into the bowels of the earth. Nathaniel, on the other hand, was treated by the creatures as a prisoner of honor. He was supervised as he walked through the city, traveling beyond its borders, where prehistoric flora and fauna reigned. The main library of the city held all information about Earth and other planets. Beasley was to write a book for the aliens about his human world. He learned from myths that the aliens called themselves the Great Race of Youths, beings with free consciousness who learned to move their minds through time and space. Millions of years later, with the help of projection machines, they would take over the bodies of other sentient races, and the displaced mind would occupy their old shell. The youths later erased people's memories, but still some somehow kept them. The interference of youths in human lives explains the legends of dreamers and tales that went down in history. The youth occupied the bodies of intelligent, cone-like creatures, which were a separate organic type, completely extinct before the appearance of humans, when their consciousness in turn were displaced into the old bodies of the great race on a dying planet. The Earth has been inhabited at various times by many highly evolved races. Some appeared during the course of evolution, such as black-headed winged creatures or the insect race. Others came from distant stars. The origins of these civilizations were sometimes lost in the depths of space, which itself was their age. Youths captured the minds of various beings from the past and the future. The held-down shards say that the youths moved their consciousness to Earth 150 million years ago, during the Permian or Triassic period. On Earth, part of the planet at that time was ruled by the flying semi-polyp creatures, who came 600 million years from a distant universe. These creatures built cyclopean cities with black towers and destroyed all life. They had no vision and perceived the world around them as a non-visual image system. Their bodies were monstrously plastic. They flew with levitation, could become invisible, and summon the wind. The emerging Ethian race drove them into the hollow bowels of the planet and sealed off all paths leading there. But they survived the inner world and were about to return to the surface. The great Ethian race feared the half-polyp creatures because they could not exchange minds with them, as the thinking of these creatures differed from that of other races. The youths soon found out that their civilization would die in the future by being destroyed by flying polyps that crawled out of the ground and then went back underground, something they had no power to change. The great race then moved into the future ahead of time, into the bodies of the insect-like race that emerged after the demise of mankind. Later, before the future demise of the Earth, they will in the same way move their bodies into the tuberous plant beings of Mercury. Apart from them, the great race of youth waged devastating wars against external decides that his visions are just pseudo-memories caused by reading all kinds of myths during his periods of amnesia. And as it turns out, even publishing several articles on the subject. In 1934, Peaslee received a letter from Australia from a mining engineer, Robert Mackenzie, who had discovered incredibly ancient ruins in the sands of the Great Sandy Desert, with curvilinear patterns and hieroglyphs carved into the huge blocks of stone, similar to those described in Nathaniel's articles. Mackenzie invited Peaslee to lead an archaeological expedition to investigate these mysterious ruins. In 1935, enlisting the support of the University of Miskatonic, Nathaniel and his son, Wingate, sailed by ship to Australia. Prominent scientists from the university went with them. Among them Professor William Dyer of the Department of Geology, a famous participant in the recent expedition to Antarctica. Upon the arrival on the Australian continent, the expedition, with Mackenzie's help, hired workers and machinery, and by early summer, having reached the right area in Western Australia, began excavating, digging up a large number of stone megaliths of an unknown civilization in a month of work. One night with clear skies, a strong wind hit the archaeological camp, which subsided half an hour later. In the morning, Peaslee says they should stop excavating, since they have already dug almost all the stone blocks. The next day, Peaslee, citing failing health, went back home to the United States. In his notes, he explains the reason for his behavior. That night, he was walking in the desert, not far from the camp, and stumbled upon the entrance to a dungeon. Going down there, he realized that he knew the location of the underground corridors, where he had been in his memories, which meant that they were authentic. Peaslee decided to go deeper, where the central archive was to be located. Despite the debris of the past millennia, he manages to reach the surviving repository of knowledge accumulated by the great Ethian race, which is a huge room with many cabinets, where metal boxes with books inside were stored. Nathaniel finds the very book he wrote for the Ethian race. Taking the book out, Peaslee is horrified to see his own handwriting, only now realizing the reality of his memories. Suddenly he sees that the door to the depths of the earth, closed in the past, is open, and the wind is blowing from it. And at the entrance he can see chains of strange footprints left not so long ago. Realizing that the flying half-polyp creatures seem to still inhabit the Earth's underground, Nathaniel hurries back the way he came. But while climbing over the rubble, he managed to make a great noise, after which the entrance to the cave had been covered with sand during the storm. Peasley doubts the reality of what happened. If this is true, there is no hope for humanity, and it is destined to disappear.